didn't do us any good. It swung from exploitation to conservation, and we're the collateral damage in the middle.
Right, right.
So yeah, it's a glorified thing that we did buy this nature preserve. However, it's deed restricted.
Okay.
Not many people know that.
Okay.
So there's only so much we can do. All we can do is pretty much take care of the land. It's not like we can live one with the land. Right. So this is really not. This is something that we can use, but it's not the total answer.
Right.
The answer is getting back into land ownership so that each individual can do the hunting and the fishing and the gardening that we're allowed to do. So it's a dual-edged sword. Yes, we are maintaining, and we feel very blessed that we get to maintain this nature reserve that's ours. However, it's only a part. It's not the whole solution. It's only a part. So yes, we get to run around in the forest, but yet we have to make sure that we're not messing up what they call the ecosystem of conservation.
Right.
So 50 years ago, we would pick up the logs, and that's what you used for your fires, and you would use to heat your house.
So now we have that government kind of telling us how to take care of our own land that was in our care with no problem for over 10,000 years.
Yes.
I just want to use this segue because to kind of check in with Micaiah, I want to have you come in and kind of let people know what's going on in Massachusetts on Wampanoag territory, because it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, so in our territory, it's definitely not something new. The act of digging up burial sites, it's something I know we have fought since I was little, whether it be someone not wanting to move their driveway because it's inconvenient or, things like that. But to this massive extent that it is right now, where when colonization happened in the 1800s, they put Wampanoag people into what is called the Great Lot, or what people like to call 71 Hedges Pond Road now. And that's where our people lived for many, many years. Our people lived and died and were buried there. Mm-hmm. As in all history, how it happens, we don't know how the land got into Plymouth hands. It went into conservation in the late 1900s. Mm-hmm. And then as of 2018, all of a sudden, the Plymouth town decided to take it out of conservation so that they could sand mine it. They sold it. Ended up selling it to the Plymouth Foundation. And Aaron, you can obviously hop in because I get all tripped up with like how everything happened. But from what my understanding is, they sold it to the Plymouth Foundation for $1. And then once they did that, they got a donation from the Plymouth Foundation to the Plymouth town for $2 million. Is that correct?
Basically when the land sale went through, so the Plymouth Foundation sold it to the town of Plymouth sold it for $1 to the Plymouth Foundation.
Okay.
And the Plymouth Foundation sold it to E.J. Pontiff for about $3.4 million, and then said, "I will donate $2 million to land improvements," so that it kind of looks like, oh, look what the developer is doing for the town of Plymouth. He's gonna do this huge sand mining project, but look, we're gonna get the roads fixed. So that's what happened with the $2 million check.
Yeah. So with that, and also the Plymouth, I'd like to emphasize the Plymouth board are part of the Plymouth Foundation. So they have their hands in the pockets of everything regardless. And with that being said, that lot has our people buried there. And, we have been fighting this sand mining project, which again, not even just for the sake of the burial sites, we're talking about the ecosystem that's there. We're talking about our other relatives that are there. But as we're battling this, we're dealing with people on these boards that come back with things like, oh, well, trees and squirrels don't pay taxes, so they don't really have a say. And that was verbatim, literally what they said. And I couldn't believe that's the words that came out of their mouth. But I guess, again, that's how it is. But that's what we kind of have been dealing with. And I've tried to emphasize this with the boards as well, is like, I'm not up here just fighting for my people. I'm not fighting just for our winged relatives, our four-legged, even the aquaphor, because water is life, but all of a sudden everybody likes to forget that. But I'm fighting for you, and your next 7 generations after you. What are your grandkids going to be, getting from this? Mm-hmm. But also the people that are living nearby are dealing with the carcinogens that are coming from that sand mining. And again, the Plymouth board has come back with things like, okay, well, we don't want to hear about the personal stories. We don't want to hear about the history of your people, which I think is ironic because it's not history. It's still happening. Since you got off the boat in 1620, you've been desecrating our lands and raiding our graves. And here you are in 2025 doing that again. Right. Plymouth really keeping it alive, Right. But again, they had deemed it that there was no reason to stop.
Right. So just a little sidebar real quick for our listeners. The Wampanoag tribe is the tribe that you probably learned about in elementary school as the first Thanksgiving. So, you know about them, but you may not realize that, you probably know a little more than some of the other tribes on the East Coast. So back to what we were saying, I just, our audience is not all indigenous, so sometimes I just like to kind of go back and.
No, yeah, we tend to be forgotten or not realize that like that's who we are. We're the Wampanoag people. We unfortunately helped the Pilgrims. That was us. But I think also too with this whole project, what is almost like a slap in the face is that back in what I believe was November, we got state recognized with the executive order 637 that basically, to summarize it, that we've been here since time immemorial, and that we're here long before the colonizers came over, and we are a vital part of the community. And so you have that happening a few months before, and now when we're saying, hey, you just recognized us, Governor Healy, we're trying to have you save our people, and it's silent. We've gone up there and directly handed cease and desist to her, and it's crickets.
Okay. Wow.
So that's also something that's been really frustrating. It's like, okay, we're going to acknowledge you to an extent, but like now you want your people and now you're asking too much.
I feel like the money is always like the most important. You know what I mean? It's like nothing is more important than the money being made. It's like, we try to say, oh, well, you're digging up our ancestors. You're digging up, my great-great-grandma. And it's like, yeah, but we need the sand and we want to build this road and we need to put this parking lot here. It's like, no, it's almost like we're like a third-class citizen,
Oh, yes.
And it's just so frustrating. Aaron, can you tell us a little bit about the organization you work for?
Yeah, so the organization I'm from is called Community Land and Water. Our biggest campaign really is to end sand mining in southeastern Mass. And just a little context about sand mining in general and why it's basically happening for people who don't know is sand is a global commodity. It's used for so many different industries: construction, building, glass blowing. Apparently, even the elastic band in your pants is made out of sand. So it's used in so many different industries that it has such a high demand that the price just keeps going up and up. And at the same time, it's a finite resource. There only is as much sand as there is. So as we continue to extract it and sell it, we run out, prices go up, and people want to continue to mine it at every chance they get. In southeastern Mass, we mainly face development projects, but another huge part of it has to do with the cranberry industry. Cranberries were a huge part of southeastern Mass, specifically Carver. They call it cranberry country. That was a way of life for a lot of people, and how just like a huge industry basically in southeastern Mass. Now the cranberry industry is not profitable. They're barely break even. So a lot of these people who have been farming and having cranberry bogs for many years, they're resorting to sand mining, or they're resorting to selling their land off to sand miners because the sand is so much more money. So a lot of what we do is we track these projects. We organize people to come to meetings, to speak out against the proposals. We act as almost an investigative body sometimes, like really figuring this all out, because it is very closed doors. It's corruption in blunt terms. And so many people hide behind an agricultural exemption. They say we're farming, da da da. And so nobody wants to fight against agriculture. And then on the other hand, no one wants to fight against development, because everyone claims we need more and more economic development. And these projects are just rubber stamped through. Every single project is approved by local boards where anyone can be on the boards. There's little oversight. None, if any, have environmental reviews or archaeological studies. So they're just pushed through, and it happens quickly. So a lot of what we do, like I said, is just getting people to these meetings to oppose it. We, document the sites. We do drone footage. We research the land that these projects are being proposed on, and just try to get the information out there for people to know about. And so that's a lot of our advocacy work, but we also do fight these projects on the legal front. We have a world-renowned environmental lawyer who does all this work pro bono, representing residents, even tribes at times. And it's a lot of legal fights and just organizing people to know about it and speak out against it.
Right. I feel like the corruption is like the ringing common denominator through all of this up and down the coast, just the corruption of the government and just the money grab. And it's like, just how long is this going to happen to us? First it was the treaties, then it was just the ignoring us, like you're not even here. And now it's like, here you go. Never mind.
Yeah, right. It's it's very interesting to me. So I'm from Virginia. My mother's family is from Virginia, and we had a problem with the Virginia company. And I don't know if anybody knows what the Virginia company is, but it was a trust company back in the early 1600s. That is how the elite, the rich people, were able to sell all of the land in Virginia, right? And part of their thing was, we gonna ship you here, and you're gonna give us 9 years of indentured servitude, and in exchange, after your indentured servitude, we'll give you a parcel of land. And the reason why I'm bringing the Virginia company up is because there were three, actually. It was, and Virginia had the lower mainland, the Virginia company. You had a company that was in Bermuda that took care of Bermuda, and then all of the islands in South. I don't remember their name, but you had one more company, and that company was called the Plymouth Company. And I'm wondering, more than likely, the Plymouth Company is now the organizations that you are dealing with. And their method of conducting business is where I think that us as indigenous peoples can go into where we can actually move the fight from out of their legal systems into a more of an international legal system, where United States would be, they're not in control of the law that they being held accountable to.
Okay.
And
keep going. So what is that? So instead of going through the courts with the United States, you're saying go through the United Nations with this fight.
Yeah, right. Okay. So they're different. There are various institutions and organizations that conduct international business, international affairs, international diplomacy, and particularly with respects to indigenous peoples and the colonizing states, right? Respecting and understanding that this isn't just a United States problem, right? This is a problem that Australians have, South Americans have, Africans have, indigenous Europeans have, and indigenous Asians have, right? And so there's literally a legal framework that has been put in place for us as indigenous peoples to utilize methods that have been established by other indigenous communities in other countries to to start to reestablish our autonomy as a indigenous community, so that we can talk to an outside entity when we're saying, hey, listen, conservatorship for us doesn't mean the same thing as it does for you. And as an indigenous community, we have a right for our terms to have their definitions and their own meaning. And so there has to be some kind of cooperative understanding, rather than just the United States saying this is the law and sorry y'all, we control the rules, we control the laws. I'm saying let's start going to a different court.
Okay. Okay.
But I apologize, I was going on a tangent. My thing is the Plymouth Company. I wanted to talk about the Plymouth Company, and now, all of the money that they made off of stealing the land, which is why they have such big endowments now to be able to pass the monies around to other corporations that they create, so that they can hide, the fact that, as indigenous communities, whatever funds that we can showcase that they've made off of us, they owe us. And that's like literally a law.
Okay.
And so, these are the things that I would like for our listeners, our guests, to start to understand, start to learn, start to say, oh, wait a second, we can go. There's another there's another way for us to fight this that is going to definitely offer us more than what we've been offered to by our colonizer. Let's start looking over that way.
I feel like so I've said in the other shows that I'm on the board with City Hall, and that's one of the hurdles we were facing, with some of the people wanting to not use the colonizers like rules and like BIA, like kind of framework, where you had some people that were more maybe familiar with BIA, and they just thought it was easier because it's there, and that was kind of a big fight between folks to keep it basic. But I feel like we have to be open to other ways of doing things. There's not just one way to win. You got to listen so we can help each other.
Yeah. You know what? Let's take a break here. We're going to play a song, and then when we get back, I want to go around the room and I want to see if we can ask our guest, hey, what can the community do to assist you, right? Specifically with your particular situation, but then generally also, so you know what? Let's I think this is a good song.
X?
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah.
92.9 FM, WGGTLP, Philadelphia, and online at gtownradio.com. Welcome back. And before we get too far, I just want to honor Lance A. Gum for acknowledging his schedule conflict, and want to thank him for being open to coming on our show. And we will have him on, I guess, in the future when we set a date. But
so share with everybody who Lance is real quick.
So Lance is the vice chair of the Shinnecock Nation, and so when I came up with this idea for kind of the circle talk, my vision was to have, I kind of wanted someone from each region to kind of talk about, what's going on, because there's a common thread, with that kind of just kind of bulldozing over us, like literally and figuratively, and just like just the
yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it?
it's so
It's-
frustrating. And I
yeah.
feel like I'm having like a word jumble. Like it's so much in my brain, then it just gets stuck in my mouth. But just
Well, that's why we have advocates. That's why we have people like Aaron and his organization that's out there that can use the words, right? That know how to put words together well. Because when you are
I get
when
so,
it's you when you're the problem,
Mhm.
like when the problem is affecting you, it definitely takes a lot to
Mhm.
be able to remove the emotion
yes.
from the issue.
And I
Right.
struggle with that because
Yeah.
I'm emotional.
Well, we all do, right? I mean, it's a part of our community having to grow up some, right?
Right.
And recognize, a lot of the things that the artist Seti X was just saying.
Mhm.
This is something that's been going on forever,
Yeah,
right?
since
And
they got here.
yep, and it's the same thing. It's over and over and over again.
I think it's like the normalization of, the desecration is like okay because it's in the name of development, and that's not okay. It's always okay when it's us. And then we have these old historical mansions in Philly, and you can't even breathe on them. You know what I'm saying? And it's like the dogs get treated better than our ancestors, and I'm just kind of over it. So that's, I guess, where my frustration comes from. The dog parks is nicer than our area. They put
Here in
parking
Philly,
lots over our
yeah.
burial ground.
That's for sure. Here in Philly, that's what they do for sure.
Yes.
So I know you
So,
wanted to.
Yeah, so just thank you, Lance. Again, thank you for your advice this week, and just looking out for us, and our younger folks stepping up. Micaiah, we appreciate you. She is a young lady, and I feel like when I saw your video of you up there speaking, that's part of I guess the catalyst to put the fire under me. It's like, I want to do something. And like, what can we do? And like, okay, well, duh, we got a radio show.
Right. Let's use
As I'm
that.
being told to talk in front of the mic because I'm moving all over the place. So I would like to go around and maybe talk about more like what protection looks like moving forward. And like, what can we do to maybe get more involvement from our community members and our allies to get that help? Like, what can they do? So, Ty, we'll start with you.
So, I mean, my take on things may be a little different, maybe a little controversial, but I believe in spiritual warfare, and um, a lot of times we forget that we have the power of the Creator, and we all fight these battles, and when we embrace nature, when we're really out there in nature, are we fighting a battle for something that is arm's length away, and we're not really utilizing it? We're not utilizing the gifts of Mother Nature. Are we outside, grounding? Are we walking barefoot? Are we hugging trees? Are we utilizing the resources that's in the forest? Because we're not going to be able to fight that battle spiritually in the spiritual realm unless we are utilizing
Be connected.
what being connected, correct. And we had our battle to open. The township had a different plan for our forest, what we have. They wanted to put housing development in the middle of, in that beautiful place. And every day when I meditate daily, and I stay spiritually grounded daily. And I heard the still small voice saying, take it to the trees. And the trees, the root system of the trees, when you think about how the roots are all connected, and the trees, some of the trees in our area have been here for 500 years. They've been through so many generations of my ancestors. And that same water that feeds those trees went through the bodies of my ancestors. And when you take it to the trees and you hug the tree, or you're in the midst of the tree and you talk to the grandmother trees, then those trees talk to each other. They feel that vibration of what the need is.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you take everybody else in your circle, it doesn't even have to be a large circle, your community circle, you take them amongst the trees and you tell them what the need is amongst those trees. It's a very powerful force that vibrates through the trees. And one thing in that still small voices that I heard, because the township was giving us a lot of trouble, they gave us 11 months before we were allowed to open after we purchased it. And they told me that there's a tree in everyone's yard. And they have to face that vibration when they go home. They have to face that vibration when they drive to their work. They have to face that vibration always. So that spiritual, we're fighting a spiritual battle. We're not fighting with anything else but a spiritual battle. Money is a spirit. The love of money is a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Corruption, it's all different spirits. And when we realize that we have that power through the creator of being, connected individuals as we are, the indigenous people, we're connected. We feel the connection. We know we feel the connection. We feel the connection to the birds and we feel the connection to the bugs and the plants. But the trees are so powerful. They have lived through so much. I think that's probably why a lot of my books are written about the trees. But they are so powerful. So, if you really want to make a difference, you take a group of you and you go out there and you feel the energy of the trees and know that those tree roots, when you speak those words and that vibration and you're amongst those trees, and you'll know that tree that rises underneath the trees and the mushrooms and the whole the microsystem underneath is all going to fight for you. It's a spiritual battle. It's sometimes, a lot of times spiritual battles are way more powerful than any kind of negative force that we're out there. We put that positive force out there. We know that we're going to regain this land.
Mm-hmm.
We know we're going to be back where we belong. And we do it on a spiritual level. And we just know in our hearts, and it happens.
Thank you. I love that. Yes. I'm here like, woo, yes. Giving me a pep talk. Your words are very inspiring. Micaiah, would you like to go? So we're speaking to what protection looks like moving forward, and what can people do in the community as maybe a call to action? How can people support the work that you're doing to help your community?
I just want to say sorry at first because my dog is snoring really loud in the back. So that's it. I'm so sorry.
Stitch can snore, y'all. So he has permission.
So, one of the first things I'd like to say is the most important, especially for allies and people that are just listening, is to educate yourself on whose land that you're actually on. And I think that's the biggest thing out of everything, is because our history is brushed under the rug, right? And it's important for people to gain that knowledge because, again, obviously knowledge is power, but also taking that knowledge and spreading it to the young ones, because those are the ones that are going to be on those boards, right? Mm-hmm. And also people educating themselves on the situations that are going on, especially with Indigenous folks, and showing up is a lot. It does a lot. And, with like the Land and Water Coalition, they have supported so much, and that allyship is so vital because it's a lot on our shoulders to handle. Mm-hmm. I always say we as Indigenous folks, we don't have a choice to wake up and choose this battle. That's our lives. And I think it's funny when people like to say like, oh, well, they're a bunch of angry Indians. Well, you'd be angry if you went through the same things we do, but it's that we don't have that choice. We walk in this world that we are almost all the time only able to see. So I think that allyship does a lot, because again, like I've said before, we're not just fighting for us, we're fighting for you too. So that's a lot to carry, as Indigenous people. But I don't want it always to seem like I'm not trying to make it seem like it's a hassle for us either, or like it's something that is a burden. Because I heard, I was at an environmental conference in California like a month or two ago, and I heard this lady talk about that all of our relatives, whether it be small as like a bee or to a bird or a tree, they always show up, right? They always show up. They don't ask for anything, and they do what they're supposed to. And as Indigenous folks, that's a responsibility, right? The trees give us oxygen, water gives us life. Our responsibility is to use our voices for those relatives, right? That's what we were supposed to do. So that's our responsibility. But again, that's not just our responsibility. That's everybody's responsibility. So I think that's the most vital thing, is just that education part, including Indigenous people in these conversations. Because a lot of the times when it comes to environmental issues, just ask a Native person. Because we've been doing this for a long time.
Right, it's in our DNA.
Right, and it is. It really is. So I think that is probably the biggest thing that I can say. For, I guess, when you say protection, I think for myself, and I know a lot of Indigenous folks, is protecting ourselves spiritually. Again, it's very easy to get overwhelmed and be heavy, because even like I know that sometimes when I even see like the news and I see like Trump and stuff like that, it just gives me anxiety, because it's like that. A lot of people can be like, oh, I'll just pass by that. I'm like, but that's our lives. Right? Like that's our choice. Like if I don't carry my tribal ID, am I going to get picked up on ICE? Like stuff like that is just our everyday lives. So with that, again, going into that grounding and remembering that, and just remembering that we're all together as one people, and just trying to heal from the inside out, really.
Thank you so much, Erin. What about you? What does protection look like moving forward, and what can people do, to reach out to, your org, to support you guys?
Yeah. So I'll just kind of quickly give some thoughts on some things that Ty mentioned. I mean, of course, we need to do our best to protect and save what we have left. And I think there definitely is this huge disconnect between conservation and then, giving land back, because conservation groups are usually seen in a good light. They're saving land, they're preserving land, but it's not really the way that was done under original stewardship. So I'll just say that I think all we have to do is kind of be there for each other and just have context and preserve, or however you want to say it, let nature be nature in the way that it was intended to be. Right. Our group isn't necessarily a conservation group. We are really just trying to stop the environmental destruction. So to support us, we do have a petition that you can sign at communitylandandwater.org, where we're trying to put a moratorium on sand mining. So this would halt all further earth removal until further studies can be done, and hopefully until some type of law can be put in place where this is really not allowed, to hold people accountable. We also have a website called sandwars.org you can check out, where all these different sites are documented and talked about. And I'll quickly mention another campaign we're working on called Stop the Desecration. So one reason why a lot of land and native cultural sites are allowed to be, excavated or dug up, is because they're not, at least in Massachusetts, through the Mass Historic Commission, they're not listed on these state registers to be protected. And we've heard estimates, it's something like for every 400 colonial sites that are protected, one indigenous site is protected. So we are starting to start a campaign on that issue to expose MHC and demand change at that level. So if you visit stopthedesecration.org, we have a petition there to sign. And again, just sharing the word, spreading the word, stuff like this, just keep the conversation going. Sometimes that's all you can do. This is a huge fight on so many fronts. Sometimes hopefully we can win it all, but sometimes you don't win, but you can get a forum. That's what someone really special to me says all the time. You might not win every battle, but you can have a forum. So just continuing the conversation and doing what we all can to spread knowledge so you know what's going on.
Right, right. So I see that another theme, where just these colonial structures and, the old historic houses, you can't even, like I said, if you breathe on them wrong, the Rangers are going to come out. And that's actually how we got our radio show, Aaron. We were having a full moon fire circle for the eclipse last year. And we got Parks and Rec. The Rangers called on us 3 times, even after we told them we wouldn't light the fire. They came because I lit sage in my hand in a show. And then they proceeded to sit and watch us for like the duration of the eclipse.
Yeah, they really wanted to lock us up. But and actually that is how we got this, right?
Yeah, that's how we got the show.
And I want to say thank you to all of our guests and just share the opportunity for Philadelphians to maybe take part in some of the things that our guests even share. And I'm thankful to be able to say that because it definitely does take community. So we hitting the top of the hour.
Yes.
And I want to make sure that for everybody that's not we're going to be going for 2 hours today, right?
Yeah.
And so for our listeners, that are used to us doing 1 hour, we're going to be coming back for another hour. And before we close it out, I'd like for you to know that on May 12th, Indigenous Education is hosting a full moon fire circle.
Yeah.
And prior to the fire circle, they're hosting a free barefoot grounding session.
Yes.
And so if you're in Philadelphia, if you want to learn about barefoot grounding, some of the benefits of it, if you want to take part in a circle of good energy, and like-minded individuals, whether you're new to this or this is something that you've been doing for a while, we definitely like for you to come out. So
yeah, so we'll be down at the Cobbs Creek Environmental Center, and we have Earthenware doing the grounding session. So if you want to participate in it, it is free. You could come out and join them. Indigenous Education at Cobbs Creek Environmental Center.
yes, and again, we're talking about reconnecting with nature, right? And one of the things that I want to do, as far as to answer your question, is to offer opportunities for the community to actually do these things, right? And for the youth to know that these things are available for us to do, not just because an event is taking place, but I mean, it's literally here every day of the week for you to release, to relax, to let go, to receive some love from our Mother Earth, right?
Right. So we're going to take a little music break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about challenges faced in preserving ancestral land and traditions, the importance of cultural education for the future, and we might have a little surprise. Oh, did you bring? Never mind. He forgot his flute. I was going to say we had a little music section, but next time, y'all.
All right. So we'll be right back with more Save Our Ancestors Radio on Germantown Community Radio, 92.9 FM, WGGTLP, Philadelphia, and online at gtownradio.com.
We'll be right back, y'all.
it's all one struggle. We don't come in grand. And when that change looks unlikely, we got to come together now. Yeah, you lock us up in slavery. You poison all our babies, but we still gon' reproduce and teach them music. Cause it's all one struggle. We on common ground. And when the change looks unlikely, we got to come together now. You got my back, I got your back, we got your back, we got solidarity. I said, you got my back, I got your back, we got your back, we got solidarity. I said, you got my back, I got your back, we got your back, we got solidarity. Yeah, you can say what you want. You obey when you have to. But we gon' change if we want to. Cause it's all one struggle. We on common ground. And when that change looks unlike, we got to come together now. I said, you got my back, I got your back, we got your back, we got solidarity. I said, you got my back, I got your back, we got your back, we got solidarity. I said, you got my back, I got your back, we got your back, we got solidarity.
You're listening to Germantown Community Radio 92.9 FM, WGGTLP, Philadelphia, and online at gtownradio.com. Welcome back, everybody. So we're on for 2 hours tonight. We're doing a special environmental show, and we're having an on-air circle talk. So this is our first one. I would actually like to try to do this every year, maybe our first week show in May. You know, just kind of have an environmental talk. We can kind of have you guys back again. Everybody can check in, talk about like where we've gone, what's happened.
Mhm.
Of course, I feel like if anything major happens, we'll let the audience know, you know, going forward. But I just would love to do this kind of annually, just kind of to pull people together. And then next year, I won't do it 2 weeks ahead of time. And then we can pull more people on.
Yeah, well, you know, this is it's a new thing for us, right? We're doing it because we feel like it's a great platform for us to be able to share indigenous life, right? Not just our activism, right? Not just the things that we are fighting against, but also our music, our culture, sharing our organizations, people that we want to support, you know, and then opening it up to a larger audience, right? And so actually I'm gonna ask you a question from one of our online listeners.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
And so with respects to our show and the environment, Native King asks, what are your thoughts on clearing indigenous lands for livestock, which is interesting, right? Many indigenous peoples worldwide are facing, and then deforestation, which is definitely something that they're facing down in the Amazon right now.
Right. I mean, I feel like that just gets thrown in a pot. It's just a different problem with the same kind of, like just lack of care for us. Like I said before, everything is more important to us. The cattle, the dogs, the sand mining. What was it here in Philly? It was Penn building a parking lot over the Lenape burial ground. We got an art museum on our mound. You got where we had our fire circle for the eclipse. It's literally on a documented Lenape mound, the Loudon House in Germantown. And we got harassed
for lighting sage.
I mean, it's I feel like it's so layered. So we're dealing with kind of trying to educate the government on our rights and our cultural freedoms that we have with, people that have no idea. It's like you're starting from ground zero.
We starting from -0. Let me just before we move forward, let me just share this one thing that that they did. There's so much deforestation going down in the Amazon right now. And they are having a lot of there's a lot of isolated tribes that just aren't as isolated anymore. And I was watching and reading. I was watching, and then I decided to read up a little bit on it. They decided to give an isolated indigenous tribe Wi-Fi and access to the internet, and unrestricted. No, they never knew what the internet was before, and they taught them what a computer was, taught them what a phone was, and this is through what's that Elon Musk satellite company called?
Oh, Starnet.
Starlink or
Starlink,
yes.
Skynet.
Skynet. So it has something to do with that, with them and the Starlink satellites and being able to send that group the Wi-Fi, and then they left them alone with the Wi-Fi, and they came back a few weeks later. And when they came back, different isolated pockets had dealt with the issue differently. And if the elders had any say in how that particular small community had dealt with it, most of the time they had put restrictions on Wi-Fi for the youth automatically. Like, they give this community Wi-Fi, they leave for 2 weeks, they come back, and that community has said, no, y'all cannot have access to this in this way. And they begin to isolate when the children would be able to have access to the Wi-Fi. And then other communities just said, no, we don't want our children to have access to this, because yes, it does show us how to do these things, but y'all don't know how to regulate your thoughts in your minds.
Do you think that was intentional to get them more aware of the world and want to leave? I think that was completely by design.
It was very, very. They are not following protocol. If you watch Star Trek, you know what I mean. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to touch indigenous communities that have not seen what a helicopter looks like, right? And then you just drop a helicopter, a computer, and Wi-Fi into them. And what I would like to know and what I would like to see is the effect that unrestricted access has on this community after a few years.
Right. So I feel like that's a good way to kind of go into what we're going to talk about now, which is challenges faced in preserving ancestral land and traditions and keeping our ways and our traditions alive when we have at every angle people trying to erase it, shut us up, remove us, change our history, change the narrative on us completely, with this government we got going on. You just don't know what you're going to get anymore. So would anybody like to go first and kind of talk about the challenges that we're facing currently, and just keeping our connection to our land and our traditions alive?
I'll go first. I think it's hard when it comes to our land and traditions, and really doing them in a way that our people have always done, because the government loves to play the game of like, you can do it, but like, here's your limitations. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. So I'm like, oh, essentially I can't do anything, right? Making it nearly impossible. I think even just us talking about like even having access to simply our ancestral remains, just taking and keeping them in the ways that they should be kept. We can't even do that. And it's a lot of that divide too, especially over here in Wampanoag territory. Our communities got broken up by the government, and some of them are federally recognized, some of us aren't. And with that actually became a very major issue in the sand mining process, because technically, if we were a federally recognized tribe, we would have NAGPRA to protect us, which is the Native American Graves Act, where we're able to get those remains and protect those remains and those lands that they're in. But again, with that government of we're only state recognized, we don't have that luxury or protection, as you like to say. Which again, we don't have separation in our lines. We don't have those things. And again, that being federally recognized is really just a money game. And then if you do get federally recognized, you're still underneath their thumb. You're still their puppet of, okay, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, we can pull your money or the funding, whatever you want. So again, you're really never winning. So it's hard to even be a sovereign nation, no matter what kind of side you're on. So I feel like there's no winning when it comes to a lot of this stuff. And even within the communities, again, you have that government center separate than the community itself, because you have, I guess you could say, the colonized way of thinking, a more traditional style of thinking. So there's just so many things that are just really going against it. But again, we are resilient people, and we still continue our traditions and stuff like that. But again, this that government and state rules and laws just really make it hard for us to even execute our traditions in a way that our ancestors have always done.
Right. That kind of reminds me of what Tavis was just saying a bit ago about, going above, the United States government and going to the United Nations, because that's what it kind of sounds like. We need to do to keep our autonomy, not just be sovereign.
Is this thing called Convention 169?
Mm-hmm.
And what Convention 169 is, it's the international standard for how an indigenous community would utilize the United Nations to reestablish their autonomy, and then begin discussions with the United Nations on the discrepancies between how we see things versus how they see things.
So essentially, setting up their own government.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, as far as indigenous peoples is concerned.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It shows you how to set up. It walks you through the process of how the system that is, because recognize that the United States is set up on a system also, just like Russia is set up on a system. Well, guess what? Russia and United States and Italy and Japan and any other country you could think of are all set up on the same system. Indigenous peoples are also allowed and have access to establish themselves on that system We just are unaware of that opportunity, and the way that the United States educates us. Of course, they don't want us to know that we could set up a system that will be equal and actually have the same, voting or whatever that they would. And so 169, everybody, convention 169.
All right, so there you go. Y'all got some homework, audience. Maybe do a little research on your own and see what that means. Ty, can we get your opinion or thoughts on challenges facing and preserving ancestral lands and traditions? And I feel like you are a wonderful source of knowledge for that topic.
I don't know about that, but I think that we have to remind ourselves that we can't own land. And we have that mindset now, and the colonizer mindset that thinks he can own land. Well, we don't own Mother Earth. Mother Earth owns us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't kill time. Time kills us. So, once we have that mindset that no one can own land, we really just solve the whole problem. And you can't control what Mother Nature does. Yes, you can bring awareness to the egregious process of, sand mining or whatever problems that are going to be with the earth, but we really can't own land. So, what Einstein said, how do you solve the problem with the same thinking that created the problem in the first place, is you have to change your thinking. Mm-hmm. So, now we live in this colonizing way. So what are we doing for our generations to be able to buy land? What are we doing with this new generations to teach them, financial literacy and how to survive with this world? This is not going away. This colonizing mindset, it's even within our councils now.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, to make money and, so and what that does is it depletes the sense of community after now. The community is breaking down because everything is now to, that's how can a tribe make money as this huge entity, a business entity? Yeah. And that's what the tribes are doing now. You have the councils that are in a business mindset. So then that goes against what the cultural people say. We have the right to step foot on every piece of land that there is. We have that right. We have that birthright. So now we have to solve that problem. How do we get to be back to being landowners? We lost so much. Every war, every time there was a downturning of the economy, and it's our fault. Because now we're not using our talents and our skills to make that true living. We're going out and working and changing dollars for an hour, and that just doesn't work. And now we're trying to hurry up and teach the kids and bring back something, but community was still there. We haven't lost our community. And our community was the support. Somebody lost a job. There, my dad always talks about, there was always groceries on that step of that person who lost a job. There was always, people that babysat if you need a babysitter. There was people that helped in school. That's where the glue is going to be, is back in the community.
Yes.
We have to strengthen this community, and we have to teach this new generation. We have to teach the new generation that the end goal is not money. The end goal is to go ahead and figure out how to manipulate the system so that you can get back to being landowners, so that you can have your chickens and your eggs and your cows, and you can be able to take care of the forest. That's what we really need. We don't need to, the whole time I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking, they want to do sand mining on this, what's to stop your people from finding a way to purchase that land yourself? What's to stop you from purchasing that land? No one's going to give us anything. But we have mastermind people that can to figure out a way to use our talents and our skills to make that money to buy that land back. Do it their way and buy it back. And there's nothing stopping us. No one's going to give us anything. Nobody has they have taken from us since this 1800s, even before that, they have taken from us. They have stolen our land through taxation. You don't pay your bills, they take it. So that should be a lesson. That's a 250-year lesson that we've been living with, that we need to get back into. We need to figure out how to buy that land. Everybody should be a landowner. And we need to figure out how, with the downturning of the economy right now, there's a way that, everything's going to be affordable again soon, that we should own a whole street. All of our families should own something on that street.
Right.
In every community. We got to get back to community. And, we have to let our councils know that, look, it's not about, a business council. We have to let the councils know that, look, we're losing a whole generation. And you're teaching them to get a college degree and never come back and stay and make this place a better place. You're teaching them the American nightmare, to work on, 8-hour day and just go get your fancy car and your fancy house and live off a system that you may lose your house and your land, instead of teaching you a skill so that you can be self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. So we need to get back to community. We need to get back, the community's not lost. It's just, we just got to show them we got to ask for a cover dish and give them some music, which is what we used to, we're going to supply the music. You bring the cover dish, somebody bring the meat. Let's go get a deer. Let's go get some turkeys. That's what this new generation is missing. Yes. Me being in my 60s, I've seen it, and I've seen the erosion. And I've seen the erosion from the tribal councils each year. They get into this business mindset. They get into this powwow mindset. Let's make money on this powwow. Back in my day, the powwow was just all Indian people. It was all Indian people. Bring a covered dish in the end. We had a party. It was all night long. We slept outside on the ground. We didn't worry about, making money and performing for outside people. Our powwow was from, people from Canada all the way down to the Carolinas and Florida. And it was just all Indian people. Now it's, competition dancing and watch this and watch that. The colonization mentality is on the inside, and it's not community driven anymore. And, the young people, we got to teach young people, get back to that community. So let's start having events where all the community can get back together. Just like your events that you're having, your full moon circle, you got to get as many people out there as possible. You got to tell everybody, bring a covered dish, and that's the answer. The answer is, we got to be landowners again. We were landowners. Yes, and community. Your family in Massachusetts were landowners. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We definitely were. And when you were talking, I thought of two different things. One with, again, that community, but getting back to ceremony, right? Getting back to the roots, and also connecting that gap of youth and the elders, right? Because there's always something to teach, there's always something to learn. And I think that's so important, because especially our elders are getting tired, right? And I would say our young folks, like I'm not the young folks, but we gotta like hear that, right? But also when you talk about the land, I always think it's so important is to get into those archives, right? Because there's a lot of history that they kind of cover up, and those loopholes of how land got sold and how illegally these things happen. And when you start bringing those things up, right, and we bring them into these town halls, and we bring them in, and sometimes you can bring them into court to sue these things, because we have something going on within our community that was very much illegal that we're finding out through archives. And that is also a source of how we're going to get our land back, is that education is power. But also, if we are gonna, push our young ones to be go to school, like have them, we push them to and support them to be like in lawyers, right? Be those indigenous lawyers to play in that world. And I give props to anybody that's like in that industry, because English is like one of the most confusing and word game I can't. Half the time, like, I don't even like the English because it doesn't make any sense, right? It's word games. And so I really praise people that are able to do that, because that's really difficult to do, is to walk in that world of, dealing with that colonial way, but also still trying to walk in your own is very difficult. But I think that's definitely how we get back to the root of things, is connecting our elders and our young folks, getting to ceremony. And again, that knowledge, because once you have that knowledge, they get shaken in their boots. I'm telling you. Yeah, like when I was at the town board meeting, and there was about 15 people that spoke, and I was the only person they cut off, because they already knew I was speaking the truth, and that's what it was. When they try to have them take accountability, they get all flustered, right? Because they don't like to take accountability, because then everything would go back to us. Everything would go back to us.
Right. Oh, such a layered situation. So, Aaron, as an ally, tell us some challenges you guys have been facing trying to help preserve our ancestral land.
Yeah, I mean, Micaiah touched on it a little bit. Some of the tribes don't even know what happened. And so when we're trying to learn about this stuff too, we, of course, don't know what happened as well. And so I think it's just trying to, of course, look through documents, do what you can to figure everything out. But so much of this is hidden on purpose. I mean, I'm reminded of just kind of a little bit more insight to what happened at 71 Hedges Pond Road. Is that land was put into conservation by the town, and then when it got brought back in 2018, there was no mention that land was conservation. There was no mention that land was a part of the Great Lot. And so people, again, were purposely fooled, and they just kind of said, this is a plot of land that isn't being used, let's use it. So, I mean, I'm hearing it echoed again and again. History is so important, connecting the dots, keeping, history alive, and just having it there to look back on. And sometimes it's really going to be your award against someone else's, but I guess that's just how it is. And I mean, there's just so many structures. Just listening to you guys talk a few minutes ago, there's just so many structures that need to be broken down. And how do we do that? I think we just kind of have to focus on the positive, like you're saying, is maintaining community. And if no one else is going to listen, I guess you just have to do the best you can, and have your community be the best it can be, despite all these overarching structures. And of course, just amplifying each other's voices. I mean, of course, like you said, I am an ally, so I think the best we do is just try to listen to the tribes and listen to what they know and what they want to see done, and we just support them.
Yes. Thank you so much. I think what's ringing for me right now is that kind of return to community. Even when my family moved to Philly, my grandmother lived 4 doors down, and then my uncle lived across the street. We all still stayed close, even though, we were in Philly. And, just speaking of the taxes and stuff, we also lost a couple houses over in Jersey due to taxes. I know my mom, I think Uncle Donald's house, our grandfather, my great grandfather, but my mom's grandfather's house. I think she always says it was across the street from the fire station. Thais, you know what I'm talking about? I think it's on like Goldtown Road or something like that. But yes, just kind of going back and seeing what we can get as far as like things that have been taken from us. We need to open up those conversations with the government officials and different the boards that are making these decisions.
Man,
it's like, come on, y'all. Like, this is just, it's out of hand. It's unfair, number one. And it's just, it's like, how much are you going to do before like somebody finally says, you know what, let's just go dig sand somewhere else. Their ancestors are buried here. It's just like common sense, and it's just a lack of it, is a lack of care for just people in general, which is a big problem, just kind of blanketed across the country anyway. But it's just kind of that individualized mentality, so that going back to community and thinking of others is definitely, like just part of the problem. Nobody's thinking of the big picture or the world. Like, we all need to eat. We all need water. You know,
We all
supermarket's
need.
about to be empty probably.
Oh my
What I mean?
goodness.
So having a garden, what they used to call it, a victory garden,
Mm,
it's time,
mhm, mhm.
get that garden again.
Well, unfortunately, humans,
Mhm.
I mean, it's a human thing that um, I, only under extreme pressure and stress do we actually come together and unite as one collective group. And the thing is that we want to, and that's not an indigenous practice, right? We are all supposed to be one, right? And recognizing everything that everybody was just sharing. I would just like to say that I 100% agree. And being of an indigenous, heritage, but also conducting business, you know what I mean, in this world. And I definitely respect our auntie and what she said with respects to educating our children so
Mhm.
that we can go out here and use this knowledge that we all have access to manipulate, to regain control over those things that's lost. And that's kind of like what I'm trying to do with the nonprofit, and using that as a way for the city to um, not to recognize, acknowledge us, and not be able to stop our cultural practices, like the
Right.
fire circle. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, as an individual, it was a problem, but then okay, look, as an organization, we're doing this for the community. It was a lot easier for us to do it,
Mhm.
and so I definitely am feeling that. And I
Right.
think we need to take a break here because we got a little bit, and I want to give everybody a few minutes so that they could wrap it up. They could share how people could reach out to them.
Okay.
So I think I got a nice track. This is one of my favorite tracks, actually.
Okay.
And, that's this is my theme song too. All right. So let me know what you think about it. You like, what's your theme song? Yeah.
It's the same hustle, it's the same thing. Same tears on everything. Maybe one day we'll see we're one big family, like it's one kettle. Same sunshine, the same rain, the same struggle just to maintain. Maybe one day we'll see we're one big family, like it's one kettle. Yeah. Somebody found working fingers to the bone. Somebody got a cousin getting that thug feels alone. Somebody fam got weight on the block, AKs on the block, might spring on the block, y'all. Somebody fam still on welfare, oh yeah. Somebody on the grind for daycare, oh yeah. You got thugging in your family tree, and somebody out there in me. Everybody saying it's the same hustle, same thing, same tears on everything. Maybe one day we'll see we're one big family, like it's one kettle. Same sunshine, same rain, same struggle just to maintain. Maybe one day we'll see we're one big family, like it's one kettle. Yeah. Somebody fam got a Benz on tens. Somebody push a bucket with a car full of friends. Somebody fam locked up, trying to get cleaned up, trying to flip green up, couldn't give the street up, y'all. Somebody fam pray for better days, cause somebody fam died yesterday. Tired of pouring out this Hennessy, but somebody out there kidding me. Hey, hey, somebody fam finally made it to the top. Somebody fam reaching back to the block. Somebody fam bring the light to the block. Spin stacks on the block. We're all that we got, y'all. Somebody fam from the hood come up. Somebody fam show the ghetto love. If somebody feeling harmony, then somebody out there kidding me. Everybody saying, same thing, same tears on everything. Maybe one day we'll see we're one big family, like it's one.
All right, y'all. I'm sorry. That's like one of my favorite tracks. And so thank y'all very much. Wanted to make sure that we have enough time for our our guests to be able to share how people can get in contact with them in closing remarks. But before we do, we want to make sure that we pay attention to our online audience. We definitely appreciate y'all for checking us out. Again, this is Save Our Ancestors Radio on Germantown Community Radio. We broadcast on the first and third Fridays of each month, starting at 6 p.m.
6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Y'all getting a special today.
So definitely, we thank y'all for y'all support, and thank you to Germantown Community Radio for allowing us as an indigenous community to consistently come out here and share with the larger Philadelphia community and our nations. Matter of fact, right? You guys,
so we got a question, right?
Yeah, we got a question
from our online YouTube chat.
And it's actually a good question. Are there ways that some nations can commerce with each other to build resources to give back to ourselves?
Okay.
And I just I was just going to mention that I know that they're doing that in Canada.
Okay.
Where different tribal nations are growing different crops. It's as simple as that. It's just simple as crops from my personal knowledge. And then they just sharing the crops with each other. It's literally something that we can do with each other, And so I think that I wanted to mention that. As a matter of fact, thanks, James, for that question.
I just want to say real quick too. So me and Micaiah, we bartered over last summer for my tattoo that she did, a traditional stick and poke on my arm, and we bartered. So, I felt like that was really nice, and just to kind of do it in a traditional way for our ceremony, that made me feel, just very happy about the whole situation. It was nice.
All right. Well, it's almost, we only got about 10, 15 minutes at the most. So I wanted to just give our guests the opportunity to share anything else that they wanted to say. Definitely, please share your name and how people can get in contact with you, your organization, if you have one.
And any closing thoughts you'd like to share too.
So who should we start with?
Anybody want to go first?
Like nobody wants to go
No?
first.
Okay. Aaron, would you like to go?
I can go first.
Oh, okay. Micaiah, go first.
I don't mind. I want to say thank you to both of you first. So I really appreciate it, creating a space for our voices to be heard, and to talk about these topics in a really open way, in a safe space, because we don't have a lot of safe spaces as Indigenous people. But yeah, so again, my name is Micaiah Stasis. My socials you usually can find me under Red Rock Designs. I'm usually all over the place, traveling around, and doing advocacy work, presenting, stuff like that. But I guess one thing I would like to say is just, again, that allyship with people and the Indigenous people. Don't be afraid to ask questions, talk to us, educate yourself. I like, people say there's no stupid questions. There isn't. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here with us today. I always love to see your face, and I just appreciate you sharing your knowledge. And just like I said earlier, as a young adult, it just made me so proud to see you up there speaking up for yourself, for your tribe, for your ancestors. Like, I was just like, oh, we need more of that, because the children and the young adults are the future. So,
And just, it was, please just give us the name of your Facebook and Instagram or whatever one more time, because we have somebody online like send us to the stick and poke. Send us.
It's red dot. Wait, is it Red Rock? Oh my goodness, I don't even know my own Instagram. I think it's Red Rock .design.
Okay, you're gonna make sure you send it to us so that we could throw it.
Okay, yeah, because I think
in the description
but
box.
usually I'm the only one that pops up,
but that's
I feel like when you type in Red Rock, it'll pop up and you'll
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
You'll see Red Rock design.
I said, there you go, and hopefully, James will, holler at you, and and so let's move on, Aaron. Thank you so much for coming and sharing and holding space with us. Please, share yourself, your org, and how people can get in contact with you, and any closing remarks.
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much. I mean, personally, I'm so grateful to have been invited into this space. I know as an organization, Community Land and Water was really excited to also get this opportunity. So thank you so much. And this really was a great atmosphere and such a truly open space, which I really appreciated. And I think the conversations were really good, and there's so much to continue to work on, to think about. And I think everyone shared something really, really unique and special today. But again, if anyone is interested or wants to help out, just learn more about what is going on in southeastern Massachusetts in regards to sand mining, communitylandandwater.org is our website. You could reach me personally at aaron.clwc@gmail.com. And yeah, please just follow us there, join our newsletter. We put out newsletters usually monthly, and there's actions to take every month. You don't have to be living in Massachusetts. You don't have to be a resident. A lot of opportunities of meetings are even online where you can get on and speak out, share your opinion. And there's also a lot of opportunities to send in written comments. And anything helps when we're trying to oppose these projects. So again, yeah, that's me. Please reach out and follow us on all our socials. You can find us under Community Land and Water. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Aaron and Thais. I'm actually kind of happy you're last because your words are so grounding. So I would just like for you to share anything that you would like to kind of close out with, let people know how they can reach you, tell them about your books. Auntie is so talented. She's an artist. She is an author. She takes care of the land. She has a whole farm in alpacas, y'all. And she's just the bomb.
Well, yeah, no, I think, I live by one phrase. It's not I that lives, but it's the creator that lives in me.
Yes.
So I can't take any of the credit. I'm just doing my due diligence to what I'm supposed to be doing, and go to bed early at night and wake up early in the morning and start over a new day. After going to bed exhausted, and that's about it. But I really appreciate, what you guys are doing, and all it takes is baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
It takes baby steps and to mold a brick for a firm foundation, because somebody has to make every place a better place.
Mm.
We just can't seek a better place. We have to stay, and we have to mold our roads. We have to form our bricks and our paving stones so that the next 7 generations has something to build upon. And you guys are doing that with this station. You're keeping up with the technology so you get the word out there, and it's nationwide. There's no barriers. It's through the air.
Yes.
So I really appreciate all your effort, and I know it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of dedication, a lot of time that you spend, that you're thinking about, what's the next segment, how can I help? Because it's not you that's doing this, it's the creator that's in you, and you're just doing what the calling is telling you to do. So, I really appreciate that, and, in meeting Aaron, and, and how do you say your name, Micaiah?
Micaiah.
You came to the reserve, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Micaiah, and, I hope you get to visit again. But you can reach me. We have like she said, I have a ranch, and we sell cows and chickens and eggs, and I do have some alpaca fur. I don't like to sell it because I like to use that for my artwork, but I will share. We have a nature reserve. That's pureuna.com, pureuna.com. The nature reserve is cohanzic.org, cohanzick.org. And my personal website is tygouldjacinto.com, which is tygouldjacinto.com. And as far as writing the books, it was just because You know, when my daughter started her library, there weren't too many books that were indigenous. And, you know, when I have grandbabies, I got to let them see that they matter too. So I'm not that good of an author, but you know, my audience, my little grandbabies, they just love to see their picture on the back of the book, and they see the pictures that of the characters that look like them and the stories that sound like them and about community. So it's not all of that.
Yes.
Hey, and real quick, how much is a dozen of eggs? I bet you they not
$5 a
$9.
dozen.
$5. Boy, you winning over
Well,
there.
There were what?
I said y'all winning.
It's not eight,
Not,
nine,
not,
10.
not $10.
No.
All right, so we all got to go support. Listen, if you're
Yeah, we
indigenous, if you're in
sell
the
like
tri-state,
eggs. Yeah, we sell like 60 eggs at a time.
there you go. All right, hey, all right now, hey, here you go. Right, so we're indigenous. If you're an indigenous individual, you live in a tri-state area, right? Um, we should
Yeah.
be buying our eggs from our
Yes.
auntie here.
They
Yes.
are really good eggs, yes. And we don't complain the fact that we eat meat and eggs on a daily basis.
We indigenous.
I don't think nobody complain about that. All right, so thank y'all so much. Y'all more than welcome to hit mute and stay for the rest of the show as we close it out. What do you think? First of all,
So I just want to say something real quick.
go ahead.
My 8-year-old just texted me and told us that this show is really good. So he actually watched.
Cool. That's what's up.
Yeah, so that just makes me ecstatic. I can't believe he finally watched.
And again, you know, we're passing it down to the next generation, right?
Yes.
And so that's a beautiful thing. So thank you very much. Also wanted to say thank you, right? Because just like Auntie just said, you know, you put a lot of work into this show on the weekly basis, right? And you know, I'm gonna acknowledge that I'm able to concentrate on other things because I can depend on you and the work that you are doing with this show. So thank you very much for your dedication and for the work that you are pushing through the creator and the creator that is in within you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we got some things coming up.
Yeah, so Fire Circle, guys, on May 12th at Cobbs Creek Environmental Center. Got that free grounding session going on starting at 6. After that, we'll have like intention setting. You can kind of hang around, talk to the community, you know, meditate. It's just a great time to connect with nature. You know, if you're not comfortable, maybe you want to sit back and watch the first time, but we do it. We're out there spring through fall. We normally do our last one around September. So, you know, it's free, it's family friendly. So come out and see us.
Yeah, and actually this year, because of some great people like preserving diverse cultures with the Pennsylvania Arts and Cultures Department, we're going to actually do a workshop before each fire circle. So this one is going to be the bare feet grounding session.
Yeah.
The next one, actually the next one will be a trail walk.
Okay. And then
with We Walk Philly. The next one will be a yoga session, and so you know, it's not just, it's an experience, right? So come out and literally be a part of the community.
Yep.
And connect with nature in various ways. We can walk, we can sit, we can ground. We're going to try to get the bird watching group to come down because, you know, we're next to a creek now also. So we have the nature, we have the fire, we have the water component now that we will be able to connect with as a collective community. So I'm really looking forward to that space.
And it's also like how you said earlier, it's about sharing community. So if you're in the Philly area or if you want to drive, we're not that far from places. You know, Philly, I feel like kind of sit right in the middle of New York, DC. You know, you could just get here quick. So
yeah, it's an hour from Baltimore. Come on, folks. Come on, y'all.
Come share some community, meet some good people, and just have a good night and connect with nature.
Right.
So we're going to play a little song.
Yeah,
we're
so
we're going to play King Charles. We're
actually going to play King Charles, and we're going to finish it off with our friend Moo Fresh.
Yeah.
So we're going to go from New York down to DC, Baltimore, and we're going to say bye, everybody. So again, You've been listening to Save Our Ancestors Radio on Germantown Community Radio, 92.9 FM, WGGTLP, Philadelphia, and online at gtownradio.com. Definitely like to say thank you to all of our listeners on the radio and on YouTube. We see y'all. Definitely
Thanks
thank y'all
for participating in the chat.
Yes.
Chat was popping today.
And you know what? I am definitely wishing on the star that we as a nation, right, as a nation, that we start to be a little bit more considerate to each other. How about that?
Yes. And I would just like to say thank you for everybody listening, everybody that tuned in online and on YouTube. You know, this was kind of a heart project for me, a passion project that I came up with, like literally, like probably too fast.
Yeah. But we working on it,
and you know, through some tears this week, I got it done.
There you go. And we're gonna keep on doing it too, right?
Yes, we are. Thank you, everybody. Y'all enjoy your weekend. Happy May, and enjoy this weather.
She wishing I would put her in the mix. Shorty got a taste and now she wants a fix. You know how it gets, but I might have to hit you in a bit, cause I'm focused on this shrimp with the grits. Feeling like I'm living in a trap when I'm breaking down packs with the click. Pass to the spliff. I've been validated off the rip. I don't need a blue check to be legit. Hey. Been going hard in the paint. Shorty noticed I'm a dog in the game. How I balled on these lanes. I've been doing cool for myself. How I look, I risk it all for a dame. That'd be a shame. I'ma just stack with the gang, hit the hotline and run 100 plays, then laugh to the bank. Cause I'm just a reincarnated war chief working back up the ranks. Word, she ain't used to this feel in her life. She ain't used to my realness and light. Nah. That's why she wanna chill for the night. Wishing that a player will for the night. She wishing I would put her in the mix. Shorty got a taste and now she wants a fix. You know how it gets, but I might have to hit you in a bit, cause I'm focused on this money and these hits. Cooking shrimp with the grits. Feeling like I'm living in a trap when I'm breaking down packs with the click. Pass to the spliff. I've been validated off the rip. I don't need a blue check to be legit. Hey. This is how you know I'm smoking well. Hit the gas way before it hit the shelves. Out on bond, not bail. But I keep the pack on the scale, and it's legal so I won't go to jail. Life is that real. I could have been a coke boy, French Montana, changed drugs in the field. But I ain't signed a deal. Illuminati want my mind, body, and my soul. They gon' have to run a drill, cause it's kill or be killed. I ain't never cared how they feel. They stole my land and never cared how I feel. And little baby know I'm the player of the year. She just wishing that I was there about the field. She wishing I would put her in the mix. Shorty got a taste and now she wants a fix. You know how it gets, but I might have to hit you in a bit, cause I'm focused on this money and these hits. Cooking shrimp with the grits. Feeling like I'm living in a trap when I'm breaking down packs with the click. Pass to the spliff. I've been validated off the rip. I don't need a blue check to be legit. She wishing I would put her in the mix. Shorty got a taste and now she wants a fix. You know how it gets, but I might have to hit you in a bit, cause I'm focused on this money and these hits. Cooking shrimp with the grits. Feeling like I'm living in a trap when I'm breaking down packs with the click. Pass to the split. I've been validated on the grip. I don't need a blue check to be legit. Word. So I came at.
It don't cost nothing to be grateful for the simple things I'm thankful. Sometimes life can be painful. Joy keeps us very young and playful. Ain't no hurt making me hateful. Keep the course and stay faithful. When I can't, I know he's able. Lift me up and keep me stable. Look up in the morning, I said thank you. Can't nobody tell me nothing that I can't do. Fresh face day, you gotta hit the angles. Head wrap with a cap and some angles. It's little light of mine, it's still fine. I'm gonna fight, heavy grind, I'ma let it shine. I go harder, blow like water, fight like water. Get your squad up, blow up, boss up, go ahead, floss up. Soul ain't for sale, it don't matter the offer. Yeah, soul ain't for sale, it don't matter the offer. For the simple things, all the little things, for the joy and pain going through. chance to live the wretched life. Ooh, you mad that I survive. Ooh, you mad that I'm alive. Ooh, you mad I'm getting bang. Shining like my don't story. It take a lot just to be me. All of the world on my tippies. Came from the bottom of the city. Rose to the top like a buoy. Ooh, got a boatload of blessings. So much is expected. I show up and get it in. I'm covered in spirit. This baby hit different. I'm grateful for every win. There's power and thank you. It'll multiply your multitudes. Change what you're going through. There's favor and gratitude. All the food, all the little, for the joy and pain. Growing through. Sun after rain, all the same. For the chance to live again. For the simple things, all the little games. For the joy and pain, growing through a change. Sunlight after rain, all the same. For the chance to live again. I am grateful for all of my blessings. Grateful I am too blessed to be stressing. Hey, for my mama, for my man, for the love of family and